All right, welcome back, everyone. It's been a long time. We've been trying to schedule this, get this on the
Right.
the calendar, but I got Carlos, the handyman, the Fresno handyman, on. So welcome, Carlos.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Mark. I thank you. Thank you for being patient with me.
No,
It's
man,
just,
this has been a
yeah,
long time coming.
yeah,
You've been at both already events, both 2 years,
correct.
and we're always connecting and laughing, having a good time, and saying I got to get you on my channel. And I think
Yeah,
it's a perfect time because you've also kind of just branched out and started your YouTube channel. But I've been
correct.
following you because you're kind of a regular on Michael Zuber's channel.
Yes,
And also you've kind of dealt with some life events and you're doing a lot of
yes,
walking on Instagram. So I was following you
yes.
on your lives there.
Yeah.
But why don't you fill my audience in that may not know you a little bit about who Carlos is?
Well, everybody, I am Carlos. I'm married 20 plus years with 5 kids. Own a small and operate a small handyman business here locally. This is actually where I started many years back, and gradually, maybe 3, 4 years ago, I started doing flips with my wife. And it was through the networking and meetups that helped me get to that area. We did a few flips in the area, a duplex, and so forth. And we were just flipping, and we only kept one property, and so that's the property we have right now, and that's where I started my YouTube channel. So it's a journey about handyman to investor, meaning a lot of us start at a base, and then we move on from there. I think I read the Robert Kiyosaki Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the four square is what caught my attention about moving from being an employee to being self-employed and working towards getting into business, and so and eventually becoming an investor. And so that is actually the journey I'm in. And I mentioned my age because and you had also mentioned about my being ill last year. I had got diagnosed with cancer, type of lymphoma cancer. uh, but I was already not feeling well for many years. I think just life and the habits you obtain over time caught up with me, and so last year I didn't do much, and right now I think this is my comeback journey, getting back into what I was doing and hopefully tweaking it to be better at what I do. There's a lot of stuff that I am trying to implement. YouTube channel is one. The other thing is the way I market my business, and I mentioned guerrilla marketing, or I want to mention guerrilla marketing because when I first started, I didn't know anything. This time around, we have the internet, we have chat gpt, we have a lot of stuff, and this is stuff that I would like to be able to share to a younger audience, because uh it's Michael Zuber has a thing. He says that at 40 you have a lot to be able to give back, and that's true. And I hope that this conversation we have, Mark, is somebody maybe 20 years younger than us, or maybe 10 years, or even if they're at my age and they're having an issue, and how do I start all over after having something like cancer, or you're in remission, or you lost it all, or you made a lot of bad deals, and you just don't know how to bounce back. Well, this is my story, this is my journey, and this is the chapter I'm in my life, and I hope that this would inspire somebody. So first thing I'm doing is doing these type of things, doing Zoom calls, meeting up with other investors. That's one of the pointers that I would like to give out there to everybody. Don't sit in your room by yourself. Don't sit in your living room. Don't sit in your car wondering what to do. I think that's one of the mistakes I've made many times in my life, where I felt I didn't know what to do and I stayed still. I gave an analogy to a friend. He's a soccer coach for my son. He's a young kid. He's like, Carlos, I'm thinking of doing Twitch and playing video games, but I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like, and I told him, wait, who's told you that you can't do it? Did your mom do it? Did your dad say anything? Did your siblings? No, nobody. You're the only one who said no. You're the only one saying you can't do it. Nobody else is telling you that. And I'm listening and talking to him. I told him that there's nobody. Your worst enemy is ourselves. It's you. Don't tell you can't. I mean, try it, do it. I want you to do it. And I mean, he's a young kid, graduated high school. But one of the things that I admired about this young man is that he's coaching a soccer league after high school. This year, this last year, this season, he was promoted the rookie of the coach of the year. And I remember I was one of the dads in the corner, and I wasn't feeling well, but I remember yelling at him, "Make a call, do something." But I told him, but I will pay you to coach my son. And I go, you need to know your value, and that's another issue. That's another point that I can share with you guys is knowing your value. One of the things I had to learn for myself is learning your value. And I know that this is something that I hope that could resonate to somebody out there. The moment you learn your value, the more you will attract people to you. The more that you can bring value to people, the more people are going to want you to be around them. And so, as a handyman, I learned to bring value when the first time I went to a meetup, I was scared, nervous. You had a lot of agents, investors there. And I remember they asked me, "Hey, can you stand up and please say your name?" And I spoke, and I was like, "And I'm a handyman." I was so shocked at the end of the meeting how many people were like, "I need a handyman. I need to repair this. I have this issue. I have this problem." It blew my mind away. And it only happened because I was uncomfortable. I went to a room where there's a bunch of guys dressed up nice, because they're all realtors, they're all agents, they're all brokers and investors, and I was the only one with the jeans and a polo that was dirty with paint, and but yet they were seeking me, and I didn't know that at that time. But this is where I'm trying to get at with this young man, talking about this young man. Nobody, you do not know what you will do when you go out there. And this is for me. This is important to talk to you about, Mark, because believe it or not, just like Michael Zuber impacts so many people, Mark, the financial firefighter, is impacting so much other people. And I hope that I could do the same with handyman to investor, because I've been in the impression my first deal was an off market deal, and the first off market deal was actually a work order. Somebody Googled handyman and they found me, and I went, and I remember Mr. Winters, that was the owner of the home at the time. I went and replaced the outlet, and he asked me, "Hey, what else can you do?" And I told him, "Hey, I can help you with the floors. I can help you paint this or that." And um, what happens is that he eventually asked me to do the whole job, and I did the whole job with him. And then I realized, because my wife on the side was like, "You know what? I think he's trying to sell the house." Got the conversation going. I made a first offer to him. He declined, and because I was Martha and I were like trying to be aggressive, because we're learning too. We were on YouTube University. We were also listening to guys like Jason Pritchard, who in our town is a he's a big realtor and investor, and also a big part of one renter at a time, and I kept messaging him. He goes, "Well, make him another offer, or do this or do that." And I remember picking up my last check with him after we finished all the repairs that he had hired us for. And at that time, we had a heart to heart conversation in his dining room. I go, "Mr. Winters, I was gonna offer you this much." And he looked at me and goes, "I was gonna ask the price I was looking for." I could have started there at the beginning, but I think, yeah, we would have got the deal right away. But that evening, I didn't hesitate. I came home running. I go, "Babe, you need to get the contract ready. I think we got our first deal." I remember we jumped on Facebook Market. I think we got into Jason's Pritchard's thing, and he would always give out information, contracts and stuff. And I think we downloaded it, and we ran over there. We did some tweaking in there, and I remember we opened escrow either that Monday morning. We opened escrow, and now I owe this gentleman in 2 weeks $195,000. And I had no money. And I was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do next?" And after doing that, I was like, "Okay, what do I do?" Well, this is where the networking and going to meetups play a huge role. because at the time I met a gentleman who was doing a lot of Airbnb in the valley, and he was doing social media. So when he was posting in video recording, he would say, "And this is my handyman." Well, that same gentleman, after I got the contract, after I was like, "What do we do, Martha? I'm scared. I owe this gentleman. I just got in an agreement. We open escrow, and we need to figure this out." She goes, "Don't worry, we got it. We got it." And sure enough, I remember we had a few other wholesalers come in and say, "You know what? We'll buy the deal from you. We'll give you, this much, and like I think it was like $5,000, and then they'll take over." And I thought, I'm a handyman. I just did the whole house. You know, I why would I give it away? I struggle with that, and I go, you know what? Let's hold on to it. And I remember telling the wholesaler, not, I'm not, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna hold it. And I was like, maybe that night I was regretful because I was like, man, we could have just made a quick 500, 5 Gs and that's it. But what I ended up doing is I reached out to everybody on Facebook, and Kyle came goes, you know what, Carlos, I think I can help you with that project. So that was my first JV. He funded the project. He also paid for the repairs. And at the end, we split the checks 40-60. And it was the most. I remember I told my wife this morning. I remember that day. I got the check. I cried a little bit and I fell asleep because I was exhausted. I was exhausted. The whole pressure of doing this was too much for me.
Well, it sounds like you said, like, your handyman side was doing well. You started getting into flipping.
Yeah.
Um, and then you had like this life scare, and
Oh
something
yeah.
that changed your life. Were you already headed down the path of changing, maybe like you're saying, holding on to some investment properties? Or yeah, how did that kind of change in your life?
So one of the things that we were doing, I got the bug of buying and flipping. And we got more deals under our belt, and we got those based on social media. And our next two deals that we did after that were, one was a pocket listing, and one was somebody posted on Facebook, "Hey, I got this property. Who wants to buy it?" And we jumped on those. And this is where I talk about not having so much knowledge. Let me correct myself. I started real estate journey not knowing much. I just watched YouTube videos and I thought I'll just do it. And the first one was I thought it was a home run. And when I started doing it again, I was not paying attention to the numbers, and I wasn't paying attention to the market. And that's what I feel like that would eventually get me in a position where I find myself in, because even though I was listening to Michael Zuber, not everything was sinking in. Everything was kind of flying over my head because I don't have that type of education. But I wanted still to be in those rooms, and so I still listened. I still participated. I still did what I had to do. But where I feel like we end up doing is that we were just flipping because everybody that we knew were flipping, and so we were just imitating what everybody else was doing. We were flipping, we were buying and flipping. We end up getting access to private money lending, and that's what helped us, get more properties. And that was, I think, it's like giving kids sugar when you shouldn't, or give them something. That happened to me. I got, oh, let's buy and buy and buy and buy and buy, and that was a mistake. But lesson learned. And so I find myself holding a property right now that was one of those deals that I should have done more research. And what also happened is that because the market shifted, a lot of the things what happened was, and this is what I'm talking about, 2022, and so interest rate popped up, and it kind of dried up everything. And because we were used to putting the house on the market on Friday, and by Monday, no later than Tuesday, we're closing, and that's how fast it was going. But also, we were also investing so much money into those properties. We were getting these ugly properties, and I'm telling you, we were rewiring the house. We were running new plumbing. We were adding space to, rooms to the houses, and we were changing electrical panels, and we were doing all this. Where I think if I would have just done just a basic turnover, I probably would sell the house and make a bigger profit. But that was just me and my wife, just like, hey, let's just keep up with the Joneses. You know, these bigger real estate agents are doing this, and their margins are bigger. Maybe we could do the same, and so forth. But the property that I currently have, and I posted on YouTube, is on my channel, Handyman to Investor. Is that property that I'm trying to figure out a way to get that from where it's at to where I want it to be. As after this is something, an advice I was given by Jason Pritchard. Carlos, you want to do at least 10 flips before you buy and hold your first one. And so that was one of the advices that I was like, okay, let's do 10 flips. You know, it's one of those things where, oh, he just said 10 flips. Let's gonna do 10 flips, and then we'll get our first deal, or we'll hold our first deal. But there's a lot of details in between you have to do. You got to do your due diligence. You know, you got to make sure the numbers will make sense, and make sure that that it pays for everything, and that you make profit. And that's something that I learned the hard way, and I just got too excited, and I just moved forward too fast. I pulled the trigger too fast, and so where I'm hoping to be in the next few years is getting out where I'm at right now and start focusing on buying the right property. And like even now, my wife and I just launched our We Buy Houses website again. We are doing, so there's a lot of little things that we're doing it behind the scenes, and this is coming back with that story about me doing. This is my comeback year where I'm going back, but now a little slower, now more diligently using the resources that I have, not overextending myself, and 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 I say this to tell you, Mark, that I hope that by by the next 5 years, this conversation can be. I have so many doors, at least 4 doors. It's like Michael Silver. Just get 4 doors. And actually, my goal is actually I have 5 kids, so my goal is to have 5 doors for the day I depart. Each of these kids have a property that they can use and utilize to for investment property, or if they want to grow their portfolio, want to give them a base. I do come from a immigrant mom. Who My mom was from Guatemala. She crosses two fronts to come here to the state because her situation over there was very dire, and she took a leap of faith at a young age, and once being here. So uh, I don't want to make it that her sacrifice means nothing because I didn't take advantage of it. And so my hope is that I can sacrifice and push myself to another point where my kids can be, so to help the next generation. But I think one of the things that I want to do doing this Zoom call and doing other Zoom call is that I can help not just my children but help other generations, other young men, young ladies, other dads that are having this hard conversation and they don't know what to do. Where I'm gonna tell you, not everybody who's winning knew what they were all doing. They just dove in, and and that's another thing. I dove in, but this time around, I think getting sick and going through rounds of chemo, uh, it has made me question my methods and how to proceed. And so a lot of things I want to do is do things in a more order way, in a more slower pace. There's that story about the hare and the tortoise. Who wins the race? The turtle. Slow and steady wins the race. And I feel like I don't want to be this rabbit that I wasn't probably built to be, but I want to be that slow and turtle that wins, but slow and steady. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
No,
Uh,
yeah, I think we kind of touched on it off camera before we
mhm.
recorded.
Yeah.
You talked about like Dion's
Oh yeah.
struggles early in his
Hmm.
journey. That's what I talk about a lot on my channel. My
Hmm.
my mistakes of going too quickly, acquiring properties,
Yeah.
beginning of my journey, and I think that's why a lot of people resonate with Michael
Hmm.
Zuber's kind of
Hmm.
brand. Is a lot of people are sharing their struggles
Yeah.
and how they've made a lot of mistakes. And I love what
Yeah.
you're doing. And I'm not sure if you
Hmm.
know who Harrison is. He goes by Trade Better 99 in the community, but he also dealt with cancer,
Uh,
and it also kind of changed his view on his future and how he was gonna
Yeah.
prepare his finances. And he's still into stocks, but he was more on the stock side of things.
Hmm.
But he felt like if he, like he said, if he passed away,
Yes.
he didn't think his wife would have maybe the interest in stocks or how to
Hmm.
handle the portfolio, where real estate was a little bit easier for her to
Right.
maybe manage. And that's why he's kind of digging
Yeah.
in more into the real estate side. And it sounds like you have this vision of acquiring these properties for your children and
Correct.
whatnot. And is that kind of maybe where the cancer also, like you said, you were flipping, you had this sugar rush, and you want to keep,
Yeah.
um, and then
I
now you're trying to build that legacy wealth.
Yes, yes. I think you're absolutely right. You hit it in the nail. And that is probably one of the reasons, that the pressure of running a, and this is me trying to do more than one thing at the same time, trying to flip. I'm also trying to run a handyman business, and they kind of merge together. And I was doing flips not just for myself, but I was doing other people flips because uh, in the platform that Michael Zuber had set up, people were like, "Hey, who's your handyman? Who's this and that?" Uh, I I was just not trying to. I was trying not to be let nobody down, and that's another issue I had, a chip on my shoulder, or something that I'm realizing. I'm always concerned about everybody else, and I didn't put myself first. And I recently started to hear a lot of men talk about, if you don't care for yourself, if you don't do the exercise, the meditation, the praying, the waking up early, reading, educating yourself, you're doing a disservice for your family. And as I'm listening to these other men, I'm like, okay, well, I do want to focus on that area. And this is probably why you caught up on Instagram doing the lives. It was just something that I was doing because my mind, I would think I was going crazy. So going out in the mornings and walking was a big part of it, to keep the mind still and also my spirit calm. And right now, actually, I wanted to share this. Is I'm reading this book. I know it's an old book, but it's called "Start with Why," and it's interesting. I'm a slow reader, so as I'm reading it, I'm meditating on what's going on, and I think about it. I think about, why did I start a handyman business? Why did I start doing flipping? Why do I start? Why did I start? How? Because normally we start with what and how, and but we never start with a why. And it's funny because I think I heard a few years ago, we're that generation that always asks why this, why that. And I was telling my wife this morning, like, I'm starting to, instead of asking why about everything around me, I'm gonna ask myself why. Why am I doing this? Why do I need to do this? Why? And the only reason why I say that is because if I don't start questioning how I think or how I react or how I do things, I'm always gonna be this person that does things randomly and without purpose. And that's something that I want to stop. I want to stop that because I feel like it doesn't help me or my family or the generation to come after me. And in order for me to be better at what I do, I want to be able to. I want to be able to. Or if I want to grow, I want to be better, and I got to prepare myself to be in that room, or in the level that I want to be. Like, I want to get these doors, so I have to think better. I have to do the numbers. I have to do all this stuff that I think I've been avoiding. I avoid it because I thought, it just eats up a lot of time. But I think that analogy or that story I've seen where there's two men that are cutting the same tree, and one is just hacking the tree over and on, the other one is just sharpening his blade, his axe. And when it's time to get up, he cuts the tree faster than the guy who's been cutting it for a long time. And I think I've been that guy that just been hacking that tree, with no direction, just hacking. And then I see other guys that I'm like, man, they're not doing nothing. But what I don't see is the education they're taking the time to do, like reading and doing podcasts and networking. And I think this is why I like what Michael does. I like what you're doing, and I like how these other men that inspire me, that motivate me. It, this is probably why a reason I follow them, because it's it's something I lack, and so now that I realize that after being sick and after going, this year has been it's been a rocky year, but going through it, I feel like, man, if I made it through last year, and this is how it is right now, I could do it. I know the person coming out of this situation is going to be a lot better, and hopefully a lot smarter, a lot faster, and I say faster in my thinking process and educated process, and all this other stuff that would make me a more successful person, because I
No, no, well, I was gonna say, I think, like you said, maybe before you're this one hacking the tree and whatnot. You have this property now that you're holding on to, but now you're sharpening your knife, you're sharpening your blade, right? And now, but I
yeah,
think everyone has to go through that, right? Everyone
yeah,
kind of starts in that hacking phase, and you're trying to
yeah,
figure things out. But now, like you said, you've made your mistakes, and I think that's what's great about this community. Everyone is
yeah,
sharing their journey, so it's helping others get started. But
yeah,
everyone's going to have their mistakes, but now we're kind of
correct.
hopefully shortening that learning curve and
Yes,
helping others. But you're doing great things. I love what you're doing. Like I said, you've been at the ORAD event 2 years,
yeah,
and you're just an inspiration. Every time I see you're smiling, you're
yeah,
laughing,
yeah.
you're having a lot of fun. What has like the ORAD, like, so going both years, how would you explain maybe from year one, year two, what were your takeaways from the event? Because this year had like some health speakers too, right? So did that impact
Yes.
you in any way?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Especially uh, Doctor. I'm trying to remember his name. He talked about the mind. He was a psychologist, or he is a psychologist, and that was very interesting because it kind of relates to what I was going through at that moment. Because I did spoke to him about how how do you get past that scare of dying? How do you get past that scared of that mental thing about, man, I survived, but yet I've seen a lot of people not survive, and here I am. What am I going to do next? And that was I think one of the best speakers Mike had, that on the second ORAT celebration, that it made me reflect. It made me reflect, and also as part of what I'm going through right now is trying to figure out how I'm going to be better. I think Dion on the first year had did a I don't know if you were able to be there. You know how in the background he was interviewing people. So what did you learn? How did you do? What do you see in 5 years? I'm hoping to accomplish what I had told them in that video. In that video, I told them that I was going to be have more properties. This is the first year, so I had already going. I'm going through the storm. I'm walking into the storm of not feeling well, because that year I wasn't feeling well either. I was there, but I wasn't feeling good at all. Like my stomach hurted, and I at the moment I didn't know what was going on, but there was things going inside my body, and and the second time I had already gone to chemo. So when I saw you, I I was just I was there smiling, but I I was already going through things, and so those celebrations are good. Um, at Michael, but not only that, I did meet other ORAT community members that were saying that they were going through cancer too, and that they had uh, able to survive it, and their whole life from there on is about how do I prepare myself, because that's going to be the end goal is I'm going to get ill, or not going to ill, but I'm going to eventually die. But I need to make sure that everything that I'll be doing from that point to then, to protect our family, because that's one of the things. I think one of the things that Olivia said, Mike's wife, that I really liked. He goes, she said something. She spoke. She doesn't speak much, but when she did, she said, "Make it your responsibility to take care of your spouse. If something happens to you, make sure she's fine and she's okay, because they are our cheerleaders. They are our wives, our spouse, that kind of push us to do things that normally, because I'm an easygoing guy. You leave me alone, and I could just be easygoing and not do much. But if it wasn't for my wife, I probably wouldn't have done a lot of flips. I probably wouldn't even done be self-employed and started a business. But it was just her being seeing things like, hey, we could do more. I know we could do more, and I really enjoy having her with me, especially last year, seeing her with me. there's a scene in my mind where I'm ill, and I lean over it. She gets two chairs, and she's laying down next to me on the bed. She's she has she has no blanket. She doesn't have a mattress, and she's laying on the chairs, and she's waiting for the nurse or the doctor to see. She doesn't go to sleep. She doesn't go, and she's there, and it it's a scene in my mind that is probably never gonna go away. You know how much she's willing to go through the difficulties. You know, it's a small room to begin with. She has these uncomfortable chairs, and these are not chairs like with padding. These are the plastic chairs, and she has a few of them. And she's laying down there, and she's like, "I'm not going until I see the doctor, and I'm not leaving you." And she did not leave me. I think she left me after I was already in an actual bed in a room, and it's a reminder that I have to be uncomfortable too, and I have to be willing to do those sacrifices that maybe I didn't do, maybe unconsciously, you know. And I want to be more conscious and more, and more direct um, and more personal, be more personable. I think it's the word, yeah. But anyways, Mark, I'm ranting.
No, no, man. I mean, I think that's what a lot
Yeah,
of people uh gonna relate to. I
yeah,
think you're very inspirational. Like I said, you're following you every time I see you. You come into the school community, the live
yeah,
calls. I always see you pop in, and you're always
yeah,
smiling. So I always message you, having little
yeah. I know.
jabs there. But it's always fun, and even like you said, you're doing your walks on Instagram, and
Yeah,
I would always just tune in and say aloha and whatnot, and
yeah,
like I very inspirational. And like you said, you've been married for over 20 plus years, and I think
yes,
that's a credit to you and your wife and what you guys are
yeah,
working on. But I think hopefully, like you said, you talk to Dion, and hopefully in that 5 years you accomplish
mhm, yeah.
what you said. Your goals were, and I think maybe you'll be on stage in the next few years at the already event. I think it'd be very inspirational to see what you're doing, and um,
that is an idea I would like. I would like one of those belts that you got one last year. Yeah, and I you were surprised when you got it, right? It
oh
seemed like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was
I
so
mean,
cool.
I think it's a testament to what Zuber's building,
Oh
and it
yes.
was very meaningful for me. Just like you said, just trying to share your journey
Mhm,
and help others. And like I said, I think what you're doing. A lot of people are going to relate to it. There's
mhm.
just that switch sometimes. Some life event happens, and it really
Correct.
starts having you look at your finances or even
Hmm.
your vision in life and change that. And like you said, you're very comfortable in what you're doing. If your wife wasn't around, you'd probably just be,
Hmm.
comfortable
Yeah,
with whatever you're doing. And she
yeah,
definitely has pushed you and made you see the vision. So
yeah.
that's amazing. But before, we wrap things up, let's kind of maybe talk about what do you see then in this next year? Like you said, the other
Okay.
year was kind of, you recovering, didn't
Hmm.
feel too well. And the beginning of 2025, maybe it was that, like you said, that
Hmm.
that now hit the ground running. So where are you at now? Half the year's
Okay.
basically done. What are we
Yeah.
probably going to see at 2026 already event from Carlos?
So what one of the things I didn't stop doing is listening to Mike, and I joined the school community. Uh, I think I want to be more intentional. One of the things I'm kind of slow at what I do things, and I think this is where I need my wife. She always kind of kicks my butt and tells me, "Hey, you gotta go faster." And what I mean with this is more interactive with the community, more interactive with my community in town, more interactive and more intentional in my conversations. And what I mean with my conversations, like, yeah, there's things that I think is the limited belief things that need to go out of my way. Be able to talk to people and be able to be more valuable to the conversation. When I would go to the network events or the meetups, I was just kind of high and go by whatever. That I really would never get into depth of any situation. And I feel like now one of the lessons I've learned this year, and I feel like life has pushed me is ask for help. You know, talk to people because I'm not the only one. Like you said, we all have had these journeys where we made mistakes and we've going through difficulties, and I think one of the things, and I'm not asking for help, but advice, or hear me out, because there's a lot of guys out there that I realize that we don't have an outlet sometimes. We don't, and either related to real estate or construction work or handyman work or whatever we're doing, or marriage or children as a father. And I think this is one of the things I've always been behind the curtain. Like this is my issue. Nobody needs to know. I'll deal with it. Kind of old school mindset. Like I die with what I'm going through. But this time around, I feel like no. I feel like it's important for me to share this journey. It's important for me, and so I'm hoping it by the end of this year, I can really nail down my YouTube channel. I listen to Mike, and I want to be ready for what's to come financially, the economy the way it is. I I'm not only looking at real estate. I'm also looking at the economics of the stock market, and one of the things that intrigue me and that I'm paying attention is the stable coin. All the legislations that are happening and how that would affect us. Because I think one of the things I realized over the years is that there's opportunities, but because we're scared or because we're so stuck on what we're facing, that we don't look up, and we don't plan for what's to come. That when it comes, it's too late, and when you dive in, it's already passed. All the peaks are gone, and so all the best opportunities have gone by. And so one of the things that I would like to do by the end of this year, so this is where I was mentioning about we're launching our website, we're doing these things. These are little baby steps that I'm doing that hopefully we can prepare for what's to come if the interest rates drop, or if doing disrespectful offers, driving for dollars. uh, so this is another thing that I my wife and I are doing, like banning signs, driving for dollars, keeping tabs on all this other stuff. Kind of go back to the basics. Even for my business, one of the things that I was talking to my wife is doing canvassing, going back, knocking on doors. Never to forget that my first off market deal was doing my handyman work, doing my maintenance, doing offering that service, and then noticing that that person needed something that I could that I could provide. Meaning, he wanted to sell the property, and I was able to buy it. But you know, if I wouldn't have educated myself prior to that, if I wouldn't prepare myself, I would have missed it. And so, hopefully, by the end of this year, going the next year, or even in the next few months, like I'm talking about, September, October, November, we could be on our first deal, or another flip. Because I feel one of the things that my wife is like, sometimes you just gotta uh, push towards the pain, towards the difficulty. And I have an analogy about cows and buffaloes. And when you see when a cow sees a storm, it runs away, and when a buffalo sees a storm, it runs into the storm. The difference is that because they do that, because they would go past the storm, the cow that runs away from the storm doesn't realize that the storm is following in the direction they're running to. And so one of the things I am wanting to do is running into the storm, and get out of that storm faster. And so I want to do more flips this year, and I haven't done anything. I've been talking to other wholesalers and all that, and and the truth is, one of the things I'm realizing is that it's sometimes it's more than believing; it's taking action. And one of the things that I want to do, Mark, is take the right action to set myself up to flip, and and to make the margins that I need to be able to get out where I'm at right now. And because I do have the handyman, but that only covers the overhead. Well, buying the banner signs, getting gas for the car to drive around and drive for dollars, or the websites that we have to pay, the fees monthly. So that's what the handyman does. It's the cash flow that I use to be able to do. But this is where I want to full circle. What we're talking about is this journey is me starting all over from scratch. Uh, I don't have a big bank account. I don't have all this uh, degrees that I can lean on, or but what I do have is the network, the people, the relationship, the handyman business. I have my family, I have my faith, I have a lot of stuff. I have my health back, and so because even if I had all the other stuff, the big bank account, the big network, the big degrees, and I don't have my health, you can't do much when you're unhealthy, or when you're going through cancer, or you're going through something like that. Yeah, and so for me, I think it's important that I get past this storm, and I'm not going to run from it. I'm just going to go run directly into it. And I think that if anybody's listening, and you're going through your own storm, and you're going through your own difficulties, don't run from it. Run into it. Run directly into it. You'll be surprised how fast you get out of it, and how strong and how mature and how the growth that you will have when you go through it. And I hope this message is something that I can deliver to my channel, and hopefully your audience can hear that, and receive it. Especially if you find yourself like me, you're in your 40s, you have 5 kids, and you have all this other stuff. I want you to be encouraged that you can do it. You are a buffalo. You are more than just what you think. I know that you can do it, and I hope that you can hear me out, whoever you are, that you can make through. You can make it possible. You just got to push harder, push yourself harder. You are capable of doing. You. Yeah.
It's funny you said that story. I actually just told my son that cow and buffalo story
Oh,
yesterday.
really?
Yeah, I just
Oh,
I just talked to him about that.
yeah.
But yeah, it's talking about my son, and
Uh-huh.
you mentioned the five
Mhm.
kids you have. Like I said, before we wrap things up, do they have any vision, you think, in joining you on this path to real estate? And are
Well,
they
I
seeing what you're doing?
yeah. Well, that's the dream. But one of the things I can't tell my kid, and this is what Martha and my wife were talking about maybe this week. We were talking about it, and we're like, I can't tell my kid to do something if they don't see me doing it. And I feel like what they've seen isn't enough. They seen the basics, but I know that if I dig deeper in myself, they can see better. They will walk the journey. Like, I think if they seen anything, they see that they can be entrepreneurs. They see that they can provide for themselves, being independent. But I want them to see success. And how do I define success? Honestly, Mark, I'll be honest. Like, this is where I was telling you, I'm an easygoing guy, but uh, for me, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm married 20 plus year. I have 5 kids. I have a roof over my head. There's food in the table. You know, but I feel like I want to leave a legacy so that my kids can have more than maybe more than what I had, or a better opportunity. But I feel like one of the things that I can say for me, I'm successful. But when I go away, and this is another thing, we had a conversation with my 2 sons, my 2 older sons, Luke and Malachi, and I told them, what would have happened if I would have died? And their answer kind of shook me. I go, my son Luke goes, I would have gone to work, Dad. I would have had to stand up and be the man of the house. And my son Malachi said, I don't know, Dad. I think I would have probably helped Luke and get a job too. And you know, you you and I, Mark, play a huge role in our kids' lives. You know, yeah, we may say the wrong thing sometimes. Yeah, we're kind of rough on the edge. Yeah, this and that. But if we're not there, uh, like they don't have, like my wife told me, Carlos, you and I built the kids so that they can feel safe, a place where they can feel safe. They can be who they want to be. They can do what they want to be. And I would love them to do real estate, but in order for me to have them come in, they need to see me successful. They need to see me thrive. They need to see me at a point where, hey, man, Dad needs my help. Like, he needs my help because look where he's at, and I want to jump in there to help him. I I need to be that warrior. I need to be that commander in chief of my life, in my finances, in my spiritual life, and in my marriage. so that they can be inspired to be with me or motivated to be with me alongside me. I have to be that person. I feel like I can't ask them to be something I'm not, and that's what and that's a hard pill that I've been swallowing lately. Like I'm not who I need to be. This is probably why sometimes, and I ask my son, "Hey, come and help me out." He's like, "I don't know, Dad. I don't like being out there working hard and this and that." But I told him one time this January, we are doing the tile job in the beginning of the year, and I told him, "Hey, I need help. I need help. I don't feel 100%, and I need help." They go out there and they're helping me, and one is mixing the mud of the for the tile, and the other one is handing me the tile. And we have a system. I'm actually on my knees tiling, and I go, I need more mud, and Malachi and Lucas just chit chatting with me, and we're listening to music, and we're in this homeowner's home in the kitchen, and I'm laying the tile, and I stop for a minute and I look at both of them. If I would die right now, I would die happy. And they looked at me, why? Because all I wanted in life is for you guys to be next to me, to do what I do, to watch me, to sorry, bro.
No,
Yeah, but but that because I'm a simple man in that sense, and I'm that man that I just I can be happy, and I think it's the root of the issue is that I grew up without a father, and so I and the thing is that all I want is for you guys to be right there, yeah, and and I just told him that, and ever since then, that conversation, I do see my son's like, "Hey, Dad, do you need help? Not today, not today, but maybe tomorrow. I do have this job, and I just need somebody to help me hold this and that." And since that point, I feel like my kids have been more like, "Hey, But I think because they know my why, and that's going back to what I was reading. It's like that why, and and anyways, Mark, going back to what you were saying, or going to the 2026, I hope to be in 2026 when the next celebration is, Carlos finished the year strong by doing another two flips, and I moved along this project, the Vasar project, I call it, that because I spoke with Mike about it, and I told Mike, how can I get this around? He goes, can you do an ADU under 80K? Like I don't like, and I'm like, I don't know. My first reaction was I don't know, but right now I think about it like, you know what? If anybody can do it, I can do it. Like I definitely could do it, and so it's a it's a it's a dare, it's a dare, and then I'm like I'm accepting the challenge. It's a challenge, and I'm like okay, but I'm doing what I was telling you earlier. I'm doing it slow and steady, watching the numbers, paying attention, asking the right questions, asking the right person, and so for me, asking the right person would be like Mike, who has a great portfolio, being in your channel and hopefully inspiring other people. And also, it inspires me, Mark, being here. It excites me to be here uh, because it inspires me. Like, hey, I can do this channel, and I hope that it could be a blessing and it could be an opportunity for another way of providing for a household where I'm the only one that provides. And this is and I always wanted it to be that way because I was raised a certain way, and I thought I have to break that chain, and a mom has to be at home so that we could get the kids protected and educated, and all that good stuff. But anyways, I, I can ramble more, but
no. Well, I hope a lot of people do tune in and catch out this
yeah,
episode. But I really hope maybe you tell your kids to watch this one. I think they'll get
yeah,
a lot of takeaways and
yeah,
you digging deep into your feelings. Maybe they
yeah,
haven't heard you speaking on this, but I think if
yeah,
your kids get to watch this episode, I think it'll
yeah,
be very helpful for them to see why you're doing this also. But yeah, this was amazing. Like I said, hopefully you had a fun time. We'll get you on some live streams
oh definitely, yeah.
with me. But like you said, you have a YouTube channel, your Instagram. So where can people reach out and find you right now?
Oh, definitely. I'm very active in Instagram at at cmg.services. And then you could also find me on Facebook under my name, Carlos Gomez. And I do have another one that says CMG Services, but the more active one would be my name, Carlos Gomez, and on Facebook. And then my YouTube channel, Handyman to Investor, is a new channel. Doesn't have a lot of chapters in there, but it's something that I'm working on, work on progress, and I hope to be able to have this conversation and this conversation grow to be something better. Just like I appreciate the opportunity, Mark, to be here, and I hope that it could be a blessing to others that are listening, and I hope that this could be somewhat educational to those that need to hear it. And I get again, thanks so much, Mark, for having me. And I did wanted to ask you about your son. Does he is he interested in real estate as well?
Not quite.
Yeah.
He's gonna turn 10 in two weeks,
Oh,
but I
okay.
definitely like how Zuber has mentioned how
Hmm.
if he was to go back, they would have tried to relate real estate
Yeah.
or to their daughter, like maybe
Correct.
these properties are paying for this trip or
Correct.
whatnot. Or even, so definitely, I'm trying to instill that in him. Like, hey, so I just got back from Japan. We were in
Yeah.
Japan for a couple of weeks, and I was trying to tell him, hey, see, we can go away, do these type of things, and then the real
Yeah.
estate is paying for this type of stuff. So I think it's clicking a little bit. So,
It will. It
but
will.
yeah,
10 years old. Oh, when you told me, I thought he was like 18 or in his 20s. 10 years old.
no, I mean, I wish
Is
I was at that age when I had him. I wish,
Yeah.
definitely having him. And so that's part of it too, though. Another,
Yeah.
trying to going off a little topic, but
Hmm.
is I would want him to, like you said, trying to build this, financial kind of
Hmm.
foundation for him to
Right.
have a family at a younger age. I think a lot of people are waiting nowadays because they're not
Yeah.
in that financial stability. So if
Yeah.
he has that opportunity to not worry as much about his finances younger,
Hmm.
maybe that's me being selfish. Maybe I can have grandkids at a younger age, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but this was a great one. I really hope a lot of people do tune in. I
Yeah.
think, like I said, we'll get you on some lives. I think you have a great story to tell and personality. So
No, I
this was a
appreciate
good
it.
one. But thanks for doing this, and
Yeah.
everyone, yeah, we'll see Carlos on some lives soon.
No, definitely. Thank you
All
so
right,
much,
man.
man. All right.
Okay, bye.
Talk to you.